actual start, which should be happening very shortly.
All right, and we're off, and it does look like Vivi and what silver arrows and a small key to Ganon's tower on DT's side. That's nice to see early on.
That's a very, very interesting start. The fact that once they get the bow, they'll have amazing arrows. And it looks like Vivi is going back to the Houlihan start as well. DT, I think he looks like he's going to do a tree pull to find out what the prize pool is.
Absolutely. The prize pool is randomized as well, and the tier 2 tree pool, which is no damage, but enemies killed, was just some single rupees, so don't think he's going to be farming those up anytime soon. And Piece of Heart from Uncle.
Not a terrible thing, not really useful right at this moment, but early game you'll want a little bit of hearts. Ooh, and a mirror from the chest, that's pretty good.
Oh, absolutely. Mirror, being able to navigate back and forth between the light and the dark world, can make a lot of routing choices that much easier. Now, we don't have access to be able to do much of anything at this point in time, especially since we can't get into the dark world, but later on, that'll be very nice.
Well, it was very nice for escaping Sanctuary because you could just mirror back to the doorway. As well, when they decide to go down to escape sequence, once they get to Zelda's chest, they can just mirror out back to the entrance if they don't want to save and quit. So it's pretty handy right away.
Yep, very heads-up play. Vivi decided to purchase some bombs down here while checking what was the item on the floating island, and we do see that was a key, a small key. We don't know what small key, and the bush crab is giving us an 8 bomb drop, so Vivi just spent quite a bit of money buying bombs when the bush crab is just giving them away for free.
And that looked like a big key on Lumberjack Ledge, so although it's all dungeons, then they would have had to do Aga 1 anyways, knowing that there's a big key there is pretty handy. And then Vivi seeing that Misery Mire is the green pendant.
And there's the moon pearl in the back. Wow.
That's going to be very handy.
Yep, nice early moon pearl and our first sword, so not having to worry about weaponry for too long. Although Vivi's going here to Eastern, maybe hoping to find some semblance. In Key Sanity, you kind of almost have to just commit yourself to having to double dip dungeons from time to time. It's just going to happen. Let it happen. You'll enjoy the ride so much better.
Yeah, it makes sense with the fact that you never know what you're going to get and having to find keys all over the place. Double dipping is not necessarily a bad thing in this mode, so might as well just get it over with. Get all the big item locations as much as possible.
All right, so while Vivi avoids Kakariko Village and is in the Eastern Palace right now, DT is going to take the more traditional play. Ooh, flippers in Eastern. That's something. DT finds a big key to Eastern Palace. Oh, no.
Yeah, the fact that that'll save him a possible double dip later is pretty good routing on his. But then he also gets the fetch quest item of the shovel, so kind of evens out.
He also ends up getting a small key to Skull Woods, which, you know, okay. There's, what, 3 extras there?
It's not terrible, but it's not 100% needed. I'm pretty sure you can find all the small keys you would need actually in the dungeon itself.
Oh, there's a lamp. So early lamp and a sword. That's actually really nice.
Yeah, that makes a 1 extra chest in Eastern Palace in logic with the lamp as well as the big key, so it makes sense that this is where you needed to go first.
Absolutely. So Vivi has not found a unique item is in plain sight is one of our clues. That could be a lot of places. DT does also find the cape from the bottle vent. This is almost looking like it's pointing us towards an early Aghanim seed anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, just a bit. We'll see if that's actually needed, but it is looking like that. One sword, cape, lamp. There's still a lot of chests to check. And with that mirror, as soon as they get glove, they can go up to Tower of Hera. So that gives a bit more checks.
And a book. We are literate. I tell you what, this has been an absolutely loaded Kakariko. You have the shovel, the lamp, the book, the sword, the cape, an armor upgrade, a big key. I mean, it's just been one of those everything that you could possibly want early on is in Kakariko Village. It's about the worst time to possibly skip Kakariko Village like Vivi has done, but them's the breaks in Rando.
Oh, and the hammer on the race game, so that's a pretty big bonus. Because this, again, once you get the gloves, now you can do East Death Mountain.
Oh, Vivi taking a death, trying to get through there, but unfortunately missed a pot throw, so he's going to save and quit out of here. DT, in the meanwhile, continues to collect these spoils. Yeah, he's going to take the walk, turn in this shovel.
Yeah, and then the likelihood is going to sell a Shore right after. There's not a whole lot more he can check. Eastern Palace, he has a bit more items that he can check in there with the big key and the lamp, making it a bit easier to go through. And the sword to kill the enemies if he needs to, but he's running out of locations.
And remember, to everyone in chat, you can do !mode, and it will tell you whatever mode is for any of these races. So just keep that in mind for all of the fall tournament. It should be amazing to help out throughout the entirety of this tournament.
Yeah, and it looks like DT is doing South Shore right off the bat. It makes sense. There's 2 items here, and then 5 more in Mini Moldorm Cave. With the mirror, he makes it a bit faster of a check to just make that block disappear.
Absolutely. Vivi, in the meanwhile, is going to be checking over everything that DT already got, and will be realizing the error of his ways here shortly.
And we found the washed up lightning bolt underneath the water.
Shouldn't that have frozen the water?
Apparently not. I don't think the water could hold a sword to activate it, so it's just sitting.
That's fair. That's the wrong legend where that lake would hold a sword.
DT making quick work of the mini Moldorms in this cave. Soon to get his 5 items. Hopefully there's some good progression.
Oh, and a full magic refill as well. That's kind of nice. Small key to Thieves Town. Okay. That small key to Thieves Town, I believe, is the only one to unlock the big key treasure chest.
Which he has the hammer for, so that's a pretty good find to get it this early, knowing that he can now get that item once he goes into Thieves.
Absolutely. DT now making his way across the South Shore, across the waves, and over here into the Ice Rod. So for those people just joining us, the difference in this race, Vivi made a gamble early and decided to purchase some bombs and go right over to the Eastern Palace area, avoiding Kakariko Village to start with. Now, there's been a lot of value, and DT just keeps finding the value in the boots in Ice Rod Cave.
Yeah, that's going to make things a lot more interesting. And it's not to say that Vivi made a bad choice to go to Eastern first. It just, with all the items that were located in Kakariko Village, it will make Eastern Palace a lot easier for DT. Now, that being said, finding the flippers and Moon Pearl on eastern side would have made this fake flipper not required.
Yeah, this fake flipper, I mean, he's doing the fake flipper because he does not have the flippers. We know as viewers that the flippers are within logic right now in that early part of Eastern Palace, which is where Vivi ended up picking them up. If you were Vivi and you saw, I mean, you had a death over in Eastern Palace because you're still only at 3 hearts, both runners are. Would you try to focus on areas that are unlocked from those flippers just to lean on it maybe a little bit more to try to get some value out of that check?
Considering he has enough money for Zor at the moment, and he'll probably go to South Shores very, very soon, it makes sense to basically do all the flipper checks as well at the same time, get those out of the way.
Meanwhile, DT looks like he's going to be checking Bonk Rocks over here. And Vivi is getting ready to collect his hammer as well. Oh, and another big key to Thieves' Town.
So with the big key and small key, Thieves' Town is completely completable right now. That's going to be very handy, knowing he can just basically, once he gets to Dark World, go and complete that dungeon.
Absolutely. That's 8 treasure chests or treasure locations in total there, not to mention everything that's in the Village of Outcasts area proper. You think that's going to be an early check for these runners?
It all depends on how they access Dark World. I mean, they still need a glove, but once they get the glove, then that's probably going to be one of the locations they go to first.
Oh, and we're having an early pedestal check from DT. A better copy of your sword. So it is a vanilla sword on the pedestal here.
And that's not a bad thing, considering they have to do all dungeons anyways. If they're really looking for a sword, they'll have the pendants. They can easily pick that up.
Oh, Vivi not switching over to the mirror, so not mirror glitching those blocks here. I don't know if he just even forgot about it because it's just so rarely available.
I don't think he actually went to the Uncle chest to get the mirror in the first place.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah, because Uncle Chest has the mirror. Interesting.
And DT picks up his Moon Pearl, probably going to go into Eastern to clear as much of it as he can.
I would have to say he's probably going to, maybe hoping for a bow, but everything else is within logic, especially with that big key. That just incentivizes that check a little bit earlier. As I said earlier, you kind of commit yourself to having to do at least a handful of double dips, and early double dips like Eastern are not terribly difficult. There's a lot of straightaways in that dungeon, so it makes the having the boots just a little bit attractive there.
That, and considering that all but one chest are within logic, it makes sense to come in here and clean up as much as you can. Vivi collecting all the same stuff in Mini Moldorm Cave that DT did. Let's see if he actually goes down and does the water checks with the flippers. After probably Ice Rod Cave.
Looks like he's going to Ice Rod Cave first, although I gotta think swimming would be a little bit faster if you go through.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a time save, but I don't think it's too big of a worry. Once he gets the boots, he'll be pretty happy though.
Oh, takes a death. Those crabs do hurt. Oh, that is unfortunate for Vivi. The worst part is he's going to possibly avoid that area, which is where the boots are.
Yeah, these early deaths aren't really helping. If you, especially for these one-off chests now, once you die, the likelihood of going back very fast is pretty low, I think.
Yeah, this has been kind of a rough seed. We found no hearts whatsoever. This is really kind of a sickly seed right at the moment.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for the 1 or 2 items that will start to unlock, and they'll start to get health from there.
Okay, so in the big treasure chest was just 10 arrows. DT going to go up here. Looks like he's at 380 rupees. He might be going up here to this rupee room to collect his last few bits, trying to get as close to doing Zora as well.
Yeah, that makes sense, especially since he got the flippers. He knows he can go up to Zora's area and get the 2 waterfall chests. Might as well pick up whatever rupees he can while he's here.
Yeah, it does look like Vivi is going over here to Zora right now as well. Okay, so Vivi is going to be the first to give us new information here. And we have a big 20 and the superior boomerang.
So not really worth it for the waterfall, but let's see what else is up in this area. They're starting to run out of locations they can go to, though. There's got to be progression soon.
Let's see, 100 rupees up on the Zora ledge, so probably not going to go get that. Oh, no. Oh, my.
Yep, the flute in the chest that Vivi died trying to get, that's going to be a while before he picks that one.
So let's recap. Vivi has died on his way to get the boots and trying to get the flute. That's what we in the biz like to say not good.
No, very not good. Especially since with the boots, once DT gets some gloves, he can full clear Desert Palace. He can go up to Hera now and complete that. He can go to East Side Death Mountain. There's a lot of locations DT can do with just those 2 items.
Yeah, this is going to be a little bit rough for Vivi. He's eventually going to have to, and yeah, DT is immediately going and over to the desert to see what he can find there. Hey, a heart container. That's actually really valuable right now. We filled out half of our menu inventory, still don't have a heart container yet.
Yeah, for AIM reminding me this is key sanity, so they will need to find the keys before they complete the dungeons, but he can at least start to go and go into dungeons and find more items.
So Vivi looks like he's now going in and going to be committing to the escape sequence. I mean, which is new information, and you have a weapon, so it's not going to be overly difficult at this point in time. You still only have 3 hearts, though.
Yeah, but at least with the lamp, you could also check the dark chest as well.
Oh, and there's the clue. The boots are in the cold cave. I mean, that's good for Vivi because that is a location that he can get to right now with the book. I imagine he would be heading over there before too long if he doesn't find anything there. So he will absolutely know, hey, I got to go back for that.
Yeah, it's going to be very handy for that to understand exactly where that location is. But we'll see how long it takes him to check this area to find that hint in the first place.
All right, so DT is also going to show us what is in Gina's cave.
And just a heart piece in the second chest in escape, so escape's not really too useful right now.
Map to Desert Palace. Well, and that's at least information at this point in time. Now, it's not great information because you have to still clear all dungeons, so maps are back to being worthless.
Yes and no. I mean, although Green Pendant is Misery Mire, if you know what the other pendants are, you can get the upgraded sword a little bit early.
So, Vivi just used the mirror before he got the key from the big guard or the treasure chest from Zelda's cell.
It's not looking like a good day for Vivi. Just minor mistakes, but they seem to be costly, and it takes a long time to go back to those locations.
With how Vivi's day has been going right now, like that treasure chest has the gloves. Like I'm gonna call it right now. That treasure chest has the gloves because of course it does. But he's going back.
Yep, we'll find out very soon once he gets back there what he left behind for that short little while. I'd have to think with what DT has finished checking, he's either going to join Vivi down and escape, or he's going to float up to the mountain and check that area now.
Mountain would be kind of attractive right now because you can get to Tower of Hera, you can get to the entire side of East Death Mountain.
With the lamp, you can rescue the old man for a save point up there, so this seems like a good play.
Absolutely. Yeah, and as chat pointing out, remember, this is key sanity, so all the small keys are mixed around. Even though we have all the options to all the items required to beat Aghanim, we don't have two castle tower keys, is what they're called in the game. So until we get those keys, Ag is not worth checking. Now, there is one treasure we can check up there that is in logic that I'm a little bit surprised. Vivi may check that while he's up here, and that's a standard check for key sanity. There's a big key to Ice Palace sitting there from the old man.
And it was just 10 arrows that he walked back for.
And it does look like he's going to be checking this first part of Aga's tower. And DT is taking kind of a new popular meta, is not even checking because of this telepathy tile that's here. It's worth coming over here to even take a peek. It's a map, so it's worthless, but he's going to talk to the tile. That's the real value. The Ice Palace big key is held by someone, which we literally just got.
It's all, hey, did you find that key that was just outside this cave? Well, yes, we did. It's when Ganon asked, did you find my silvers in my tower? Well, yes, we did.
And Vivi shows us the map to Turtle Rock, so not the value he was wanting there in the castle tower. Meanwhile, DT, we see another big key up. Yeah, the hints have been kind of interesting because they've told us where the boots are, once we've already found the boots. Oh, big key to Misery Mire. And then, the big key to Ice Palace, which we already knew.
Hopefully we'll find some better hints as the sea continues.
Unique item is in the mini Moldorm kit. Yeah, thanks for that. Small key to Ganon's tower. Okay, that's something that we don't need right now, but I guess let's start collecting.
Yeah, so far they're not really finding keys to complete the dungeons that they're currently in, except for Eastern, but they're just missing the bow for that. We'll see what they actually find. They've got to find progression at some point. DT has checked almost everything else. There's got to be something somewhere here.
So, question in chat, what were these two ranked after the qualifiers? And from what I can tell, final results, Vivi was ranked 40th, DT was ranked 18th. So both of them definitely in the top 50%, all things said, which makes this kind of a high-quality matchup from top to bottom. And a big key to Dark Palace.
It's not quite handy yet, but it will be once I can get to Dark. they'll still need a few more keys, but I'm pretty sure both these runners are good with the bomb jump, so they'll be able to do the dungeon with one less key.
Meanwhile, Vivi's heading over here to Desert Palace, so let's hope he sees that hint and goes, oh. Meanwhile, DT does find a sword upgrade and a bottle, so that the bottle at least unlocks one other location back in Kakariko Village. But man, that sword, that's some nice timing on that sword there. Oh, there's a castle tower small key too.
There's the other castle tower. All right, so Aga.
Yeah, let's go do Aga. It seems about right now.
Probably gonna check that bottle just to be on the safe side, but at this point, I think Aga 1 is the last location.
So Vivi got the hint that says, maybe you should go back to the Ice Rod Cave. And he's like, yeah, I guess I will. Sick Kid gives us a compass to Thieves Town, which, again, the compass in Key Sanity mode, what it will do is track the total number of treasure chests you've picked up in the dungeon. So it's handy if you don't already have one of those trackers laying around and haven't memorized how many treasures are in every dungeon.
Yeah, it's not terrible, but for these runners, I don't think that's really needed.
No, absolutely not. So Vivi being chased by these, he's still only at 3 hearts at 27 minutes in. This is one of the sickliest seeds I think I have ever seen.
I'm actually kind of liking this seed. It's linear, but I mean they're giving you quite a bit, and I enjoy watching Aga seeds. I know it's all dungeons anyways, but Aga for Dark World access is pretty fun.
That's true. I mean, once we know that it's an Aga seed, it's like, okay, well, we kind of knew we were going to have to do this anyway. So the other thing that's really blocking Vivi's access right now, unfortunately, we know our progression that DT's on. He'll be able to complete Aghanim at this point in time. In order for Vivi to get those 2 castle tower keys, both on the east side of Death Mountain, logically, he needs to go back to Eastern and get that flute, doesn't he?
Yeah, but the good thing is with no other way up the mountain, he's not going to get sidetracked. He is going to run out of locations, and it looks like he's going there right now.
The nice thing, and it's a blessing in disguise, was, we were lamenting earlier that, oh my gosh, the big key was in Kakariko Village, and Vivi's already in Eastern Palace, so that means he's going to be unfortunate in having to come back and double dip. Well, at least now it's a 2-item check instead of a 1-item check.
Yeah, it's not a terrible thing. Like, yeah, you're right. If it was just 1 item left in here, he would have had to come back eventually, but it would have taken a lot longer. With 2 items, it's a bit more lucrative. I mean, we know it's nothing special, but NDD quickly checking the escape sequence just to make sure there's nothing here before he goes to fight Aghamon.
Yep, and now he mirrors out. Both runners really using that mirror to its full effect early on, being able to jump into dungeons and then nope out, especially in Key Sanity, I think is highly valuable.
Yeah, it's pretty handy. So since we know DT is going to have to do Aga 1 for Dark World access, where do you think he's going to go? Do you think he checks Pod, or do you think he goes right down to Hype Cave and does the southern towards Village of Outcast area?
Well, we still have the other dungeon, the other dungeon logic that we have to take into consideration. We only have 1, maybe 2 keys to Palace of Darkness. So that doesn't really get us terribly far into Palace of Darkness. If I were these runners, I would say let's go ahead and do kind of the south route. Let's do Hype Cave. At this point, it's about chest density. It's not necessarily about clearing dungeons quite yet.
Well, he has 3 Palace of Darkness keys, so that gets him into the front area. He has the big key, so he could even go to the big chest. So he has a few chest areas he can check there.
Does he have 3? I'm having a hard time reading the font. It's kind of small on my screen.
Looks like 3 to me. He should at least have 2. So again, he can go to the big chest location and again check. He can open the middle door, so he can check the drop down chest. He can check the chest on the bridge. So he has some checks, and knowing key sanity that you're probably gonna have to double dip anyways. I'm not sure if it's worthwhile to go Palace of Darkness or go for the chest you know you can get.
Bombs are in a chest requiring a specialist to unlock. So that would be Gary's lunchbox typically, and I think that's a good chance that we're going to avoid that one now, don't you?
I'm pretty sure that's the only location that is unlocked by the specialist, so yeah, DT's going to skip that one. It just makes that chain one less step.
All right, so Vivi now unlocking his teleportation method for the entire game. A little bit bittersweet because, again, he died on his way to get both the boots and the flute, so he's got to be feeling far behind. I wonder if that's going to affect his routing as we go into this a little bit later.
It might, knowing that he died and it took longer to get those 2 items. He might make a few gambles to try to save a little bit of time. But with key sanity, all dungeons, I don't know how many gambles you can actually make.
All right, so we are now on our first Aghanim fight for DT. They will be identical fights for DT and Vivi once he gets there. And no blue balls yet. How many blue balls do you think we're going to possibly end up with?
I'll say 3. It's usually the average number, or pretty close to it. There's one.
There is one. And to answer a question in chat, no map checks because it's key sanity. We do not know which dungeons have the crystals or the pendants until we get the map for each individual location. So there's really no point. Plus, it's all dungeons, so we have to kill everything anyway. So far, only 2 blue balls from DT's side. Vivi is picking up his map. There is 3. Oh, Vivi's setting up a bomb jump here. Wow, nicely done. That is one of the most difficult bomb jumps in the game, simply because it's a square longer than any other bomb jump. Have to skip in kind of a very particular place. Nicely done, Vivi, there.
And we finally get a 5th heart on DT side. So I'm slowly getting the health back.
Are you saying all the hearts are in darkness?
It seems like it at this point. Yeah, it looks like the Hype Cave is the answer for the guaranteed chests. And oh yeah, I forgot about the key on the island here, so might as well pick this up while you're in the area.
Yeah, might as well. It seems like a reasonably good idea. And this small key is another Palace of Darkness key. So that's 4 small keys to Palace of Darkness. I mean, why not?
So if I remember correctly, there's 6 total keys. If they know the bomb jump, they can get by with 5. So 1 more key plus the bow would for sure guarantee that dungeon.
Yeah, it's looking more and more attractive. I might still hold out for the bow just because the likelihood of the bow being there is so low. But I can absolutely see, just sucking it up and saying, yeah, let's go ahead and do this. DT is also going to show us what this big key is.
And not really required in terms of killing the bosses. Whether there's an item there is another matter.
Yeah, I don't know if you necessarily want to see keys like that. That one and the Swamp Palace, big key, for example. But otherwise, DT kind of just plugging along here. It's a relatively linear seed up to this point in time. He has some decisions to make now, but he's through that first hurdle and he's in the dark.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see where the rest of the progression is. I have a feeling it's going to open up very soon.
Oh, and Vivi takes another death over here on East Death Mountain. Please, just make sure you keep going, Vivi. Keep going to the east side. Okay.
Well, they don't really have that much of a choice. They're running out of locations they can check. I don't think he's been over to Desert Palace area, so he could go over there to get the heart container at least.
Worth noting, DT, I don't think he's actually done Hype Cave. Like, he was in the area and then just went and just...
This actually makes a bit of sense. He can't go into Village of Outcasts yet without a glove or the mitts. So get these checks first and then run over. Otherwise, it's a bit of a trek to get back there. I'm not actually sure which is more efficient, but it's not a terrible play, I don't think.
A small key to Turtle Rock. That, I believe... I mean, we need at least one. So that's a good one there. Well, we need a few, actually, now that I stop and think about it.
And Vivi's going to find out very soon the 2 Castle Tower keys.
Small key to Tower of Hera, so Hera Basement is now open to us.
I'm not sure if it's worthwhile to go there for just one item, but it is open. Again, they'll eventually be locked out of locations if they can't find anything good.
And DT realizes, oh yeah, we still don't have a glove upgrade. We are 37 minutes and this has been the sickliest, weakest seed I've ever recall seeing. Not only can we not lift anything, but we also have very few health hearts. Turtle Rock, big key, okay. And piece of heart, another bottle, and a big key to Swamp Palace.
Not a terribly hype cave. I mean, it's useful for the Turtle Rock big key, but otherwise, kind of meh.
Kind of meh. That's kind of my feelings on this seed overall.
Is DT checking the 1 chest in Swamp?
Does look like he is. We don't have the small key. It's, I've seen a lot of runners check this. Not a majority by any stretch, but I've seen a few runners do make this check because it's quick-ish, and if something is here, it saves a ton of time that that your opponent isn't going to do.
Yeah, that's true. Not many people want to check just for 1 chest, so if you realize that, and the hint tile actually makes this a bit more lucrative as well.
The hook shot requires the hammer. That's actually good knowledge at this point. And hey, another heart container. That's money for this seed.
So that wasn't a terrible play, realizing or finding out that the hook shot requires the hammer and getting 1 extra heart. Not a terrible use of the time.
Poor Vivi over here, still with only 3 hearts. Yeah.
So where's DT gonna go now?
Well, back to the Dark World. I think at this point, you don't have a lot available to you. You might do a catfish check, but I think Palace of Darkness is kind of your last chance.
They can't check catfish without a glove, though.
Oh, derp.
And they don't have the hook shot to go across. Oh, so we saw Pod and Turtle Rock were regular crystal. I mean, again, it's all dungeons. They would have had to do it anyways, but it's nice to know what the crystals and pendants are if you ever need to want to pull the pedestal or the 5-6 when it comes down to that.
This is true. Normally, when it's a non-key sanity race, when it's normal or anything of that nature, you will absolutely note the music in the dungeons will align with whether or not it is a crystal or a pendant. In Key Sanity, though, they don't want to give you that hint. So that music has actually been randomized. So as you're listening to the music, don't think that's a hint in any capacity.
Yeah, they want to keep it a bit more random, force you to go into more dungeons. And they want to make the maps a bit more useful.
Another heart container. So, yeah, clearly all the hearts are in darkness.
Oh, this is another good point. The fact that you can save a key by doing the bottle glitch and get to the bow lock side.
The Skullwood's big key requires the green pendant.
No, I think that was just a Skullwood's key. They already found the big key.
Yeah. Right. Okay. And there's a ton extra of those, so. DT's like, yes, thank you for the love of God, of all that is holy. I have another heart.
Yeah, soon there'll be 5 picking up heart containers. They seem to be all in the Dark World. I think he's on 2 heart pieces, so Fire Rod in Pod, bow lock side. That's pretty good knowledge.
Yeah, that is actually amazing to know right there. As well, okay, 5 rupees, don't care.
But as I was saying, I think Vivi's on 2 heart pieces, so he should get another heart through the 2 in this cave. He was on 3, so just the 1.
Either way, he's considerably happier than he was just a bit ago. And yeah, DT is saving that key. That bottle glitch saving another key, so he could... if he finds the bow, he could theoretically clear this without a penalty as long as he can do the hammer.
Yep. The likelihood of it being in logic in this, though, well, they have the key, so it might be. Oh, there's the first.
Hallelujah. We're finally a little bit stronger.
And the compass for the dungeon you're in. So obviously that glove was in logic before the bottle glitch.
Oh, yeah. And now he's going to have to spend another key because he does not have... Oh, that's true. That's a little bit unfortunate, but at least, we're not cheesing the game too much.
No, and depending on what he finds, he might need one more key down the road if he does the bomb. Ooh, and the mints right up.
Both. Wow, Palace of Darkness was the answer. Looking over here on Vivi's side, and I'm only seeing 1 Palace of Darkness key that he's gotten so far.
Yeah, I forget 100% where the others were, but I guess they might be over in desert area.
Hey, and whoever guessed number, 87, we just found the big key to Ganon's tower.
I mean, it's good that you don't have to hunt for it anymore. You know, you can complete it once you have all the 7 crystals. There is 4 chests up there. I believe in Key Sanity, you might actually be required to go through the tower to pick up items to complete the rest of the seed.
It is true, yes. If you need items to defeat certain pendant dungeons, those can be located in Ganon's tower. And since it's all dungeons,
looks like DT's found enough in Palace of Darkness. He's going to escape out and probably go to Village of Outcasts, get all those items.
yeah, this unlocks this entire eastern portion of the Dark World. And I mean, we can clear Thieves Town, so this will be really the first dungeon that we'll be able to clear 46 minutes in, which is kind of long, but in a Key Sanity, especially a mean Key Sanity like this one, we've been all over the place already.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I mean, they can also, I believe they have enough keys to do Skull Woods as well, so they could also defeat the boss.
Although that is out of logic because of the bottle glitch.
No, I thought he got this. Didn't he get the Skull Woods key somewhere else?
He got the Skull Woods key, but the fire rod.
Oh, right. You would need the bow for that. I mean, when do people in Randomizer care about logic?
I mean, I know I do.
Well, it's nice to know what's in logic, but that's not going to stop them from completing it if they're in the area.
This is true. So DT, playing as Dragonite, has his own Pokemon buddy.
And just 20 rupees, so not that hammerlock location.
Nope. But we will be seeing what Jeremiah gives us here directly. While Vivi is entering Palace of Darkness, I'm seeing, according to our tracker, only has 2 pod keys, so this may be slowing him down. But
with those 2, though, he should be able to get, if he uses them wisely, he should be able to get the mitts. Oh, sorry, the chat's correcting us. He has 3 keys. And looks like he's doing the bottle glitch as well, so he'll be able to get the fire rod and then pick up the mitts.
so yeah, Signal is pointing out the gloves are locked in the vanilla big key location. Which man, this is gonna be, I don't know if he has the keys to be able to do it.
Well, you would need one to go through this inner door, and then from there, you would either go left to do the first drop down for 1 key, or you'd go up to the dark maze. It's just he might not be able to get the mitts instead. I'm not sure if those are in logic.
Well, I don't think DT has broken too much logic in terms of getting his keys to Palace of Darkness. I think those are all in logic. This is blah. This is this is the problem with key sanity, especially when you start breaking logic. The number of keys that you get can just really mess up how things go.
But one thing we didn't initially point out, DT picked up the Tower of Hera big key, so that's at least another dungeon he can clear out. There's 4 more chests in there that he can pick up, so
Yeah, and to explain to chat why we're in a all dungeons normal mode, randomized swords key sanity seed. The fall tournament this year has a lot of different modes that are available to it. In the first round that we're currently at, the higher seated person gets to choose all of the, in other randomizers, we call them flags. Like, so we're in all dungeons instead of just defeating Ganon. We're in randomized swords instead of an Uncle Assured sword, and Key Sanity, which is a special mode. So in the name of DT, who is the higher seated player, got to choose which mode we were going to play in for this particular race.
yeah, and when they schedule again, it'll be Vivi's turn to pick the settings or flags, whatever you want to call it. And then for their third race, it'll be random. They'll each have one setting that they can say, no, I do not want to do this. And then once they've picked those 2 settings, it'll randomly generate a mode for them to play. And the reason they decided to do that for this tournament is after playing months of one single mode, whether that be standard or open, it gets a bit tedious. So they decided to, for this tournament, try out different game modes at different times, make it a bit more random. And so far, it's been pretty fun. This is the second one I've been a crew on, and it's a second completely different race, and it's really enjoyable for me.
Okay, so another small key to Palace of Darkness was in the big treasure chest, which we pointed out was interesting because we have all the ability to go ahead and clear out everything here in Thieves Town. So we're getting close. I think there's only one more key out there. Logically, in order to complete the dungeon, all 6 keys do have to be available because the logic pretty much assumes that you use the keys in the dumbest way possible.
Yeah. Or especially if you don't know how to do the bomb jump. For me, if I were to be playing this, I would have needed all the keys because I don't know the bomb jump. But because these runners do, they can get by on just the 5.
Ferdy in chat asks, is every game going to be a random rule set or per round? It's not going to be a random rule set. They're chosen by the players. Just the third round is the randomized seed that they do have some vetoes that they can call in.
So each group has 6 runners. Each runner plays one other runner in the seed 3 times. So it's a total of 15 games per group stage. And so each game won against your particular opponent will be the higher seeds pick of the settings. Game 2 will be the lower picks settings, and then game 3 is the random, which they can say, no, I don't want these. They can each pick a mode that they don't want to do. So it's all game 3s in group stage will be random games.
Now, to be fair, we may not even need the third game in some matches, right?
No, this is not a best of 3. It's 3 games regardless. Once we move on to brackets, then it's a best of 5. So you might not need all 5, but in groups, it's 3 games regardless.
Okay, all that clears that up. I appreciate you, sir. Both runners now sitting here in Skull Woods at this point in time. DT has already defeated our first dungeon in Thieves Town. Vivi has not done so. Did get the Power Glove, but did not get that Titan's Mitt. So will eventually. I mean, we know he has to go back there, but again, I think missing that key kept him from keeping going even further into the dungeon to get the item that he needed.
Yeah, it looks like it. And I noticed on DT's menu that it looks like Thieves Town was one of the 5/6 crystals. So that could be an option soon, depending on what the other 5/6 is.
It would be interesting. DT going back, he knows that he's going to have to kill the boss anyway, so he's going to go back and kill the boss first thing before he clears out the rest of the dungeon, which is not a bad thing to do. I think a lot of runners end up doing that. Okay, so DT is showing us Mothula. He's using hammer strats. Oh man, and that came close. He was getting bodied there for a while. Rewarded with a big 20, but most importantly, does get a crystal for his effort.
Yeah, not quite in logic yet, but it's a good thing to do while you're in the area, while you have the items. It was a pretty good fight too. He has a fairy as his backup, I believe. So does Vivi, which, considering the slightly less hearts, that's going to be, I think, a big bonus on his end.
I tend to think so too. Vivi has shown. I don't, and this is not necessarily meant to be a knock on Vivi, because DT is just an amazing runner who's probably one of the most technically proficient runners that we have in the community. So saying that DT is probably a more skilled from a technical proficiency and able to do things like hammer Mothula with a row of 8 hearts, that's not saying anything negative about Vivi, but it'll be a little bit more of a challenge for him.
Based on what I've seen, he seems pretty good technically as well. I think just the early problems is he might not be as proficient in low health strat.
Well, 7 heart Mothula. Here we go. That's kind of low health. And here's patience is the name of the game half the time with Mothula, and Vivi does do it. Oh, well done. Now, what you'll see for both these runners, because they both have the compass, is you'll probably see 7 of 8 in the dungeon itself. They're not going to get that 8th chest. And here's why. Because that 8th chest is a guaranteed small key. It is possible, if you fall down a certain hole when you're up there, to effectively soft lock yourself. And they do want to prevent any sort of soft lock, so there is one key in Skull Woods, which is a guaranteed small key to Skull Woods.
And DT having trouble with that Murderodactyl.
That was the cutest dead dragon I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, I've seen DT play this sprite before. It's really amazing. The sprite developers do really great work on these sprites.
Oh, absolutely. And there's a ton of sprites that are available. If you haven't played the game yourself, first of all, what are you doing with your life? Second of all, go ahead and join us over on ALTTPR. As long as you have your own ROM, just come on in, play the game yourself. There's several hundred sprites to choose from at this point in time. All the different modes. The community is amazing in terms of its ability to welcome folks. Just come on in and join us. Hey, maps and places that we want logic to be in. That's great.
Yeah, that's just the nature of this key sanity. You just find junk maps and compasses and locations.
Rats being rude, interrupting dashes from DT. Okay, here's another heart container, heart piece. Don't save. Don't. Doesn't he have a Hyrule Castle key that he can use to get back there?
He already checked the dark sewer chest.
Oh, did he? Okay. Okay.
So it looks like he's run out of things to check, and he's going to go up to Tower of Hera. It's not a bad play. There's four chests in here he can still pick up.
Yep, big key, plus you have the small key, so you can also check that. Also, Dark Death Mountain is also in play because you have the Titansmiths now. You can only get one of the treasures in Hookshot Cave, which is fine. He is also, I don't think this is in logic per se, but he's doing this.
I think it was because Kate plus bottle, which meant you should have enough magic for it.
Signal C in chat. Did Smith's Peg have anything? No, it was all garbage.
Yeah, Smith, I believe, was a heart piece, and in the hammer pegs, I believe it was either 20 or 5 rupee. So nothing good. And we know bombs are in the purple chest, so neither of the runners are going to get that in the chain.
Z Fruitbat asks, is Spite Cave considered Hammerlock? I do believe it is.
It for sure is. So that was not a bad check to try to find the hook shot.
All right. Meanwhile, DT does look to be going into Tower of Hera. So again, another dungeon that has to be cleared. Vivi is on his second dungeon. He's doing Thieves Town now, which is perfectly fine.
Yeah, he's going to need to eventually clear this anyways. And I believe it had another Palace of Darkness key, so it's not a bad idea to come into here. So looking at the hints and what each thing means, the remaining Hammerlock locations, if I'm reading right, is Swamp Palace, Ice Palace, Ganon's Tower, and Helmasaur.
Okay. Man, Swamp Palace would be the worst of those, I think.
Well, considering that they still need the small key, it actually wouldn't be that bad because you go in with the small key, find the hook shot, and then you can just finish the dungeon while you're there.
DT or Vivi now picking up his Palace of Darkness small key. The sooner he gets back over there, DT has not put great use into his Titansmiths up to this point in time. I think he's checked King's Tomb, but hasn't really done a whole lot else with it. So if Vivi ends up getting it relatively soon after he finishes up Thieves Town, he might not lose all that much time.
And once again, the hint tile with a hint for an item we've already picked up.
Because of course it is. I mean, that's the risk reward you have with the hint tile. Sometimes they're awesome. Sometimes they're a joke. Sometimes they are a joke that's only funny to those of us watching because we get to laugh at the runners.
So, question in chat asking why Mimic Cave and Turtle Rock isn't hammerlocked. Currently, the way the hint system works is it has to be accurate for all modes. And because Randomizer randomizes the enemies in the cave, and therefore I believe negates the hammers. And the same with Turtle Rock. Some modes you don't need the hammer to get into Turtle Rock. Those aren't listed as hammer lock locations.
Yeah, that can be a little bit rough for those people who don't know things like Randomizer or inverted mode. It certainly incentivizes you to learn those other modes where the logic might be a little bit different.
But I could be a bit wrong with the Mimic Cave, but I just know it's not listed in the hint tile. So they either have a specific hint for that cave, or it's just not included in terms of the hammer hint.
All right, now DT on his way. Where are you going, DT? Did he get the 5-6? He get the.
It looks like Tower of Hera was the other 5-6. So with that in Thieves Town, Big Bomb has two items there.
Hey, that's a worthwhile thing here, and because we've already defeated Aga, he can go ahead and use this mirror strat to kind of take a shortcut.
Let's hope it's something good. But I guess while he's up in the pyramid area now with the gloves, he can go check Catfish, do a couple of other locations in the area.
That would be a good check. We'll see. What do we have? I mean, it feels like we got to be getting close to progression at some point, or something to unlock. Another pod small key. That's 6 though. That's all of them.
Yep, he has all of them. So with the bow, he knows he for sure can complete Palace of Darkness. Yeah, they are running out of locations to check. I believe now with the mitts, DT can fit. No, he doesn't have any keys for Desert Palace.
No, but that. Oh, and no big key either. Oh.
Yeah, and with no Bombos and Fire Rod out of Logic, he can't do Ice Palace, or Ice Palace is not in Logic.
So what? Oh, Misery Mire.
Yeah, that seems like a good place. The shed, Checkerboard Cave. If he has the medallion, he can go into Misery Mire.
So yeah, he's warping down here. Wonder where he's going. Is he? He might just be breaking logic and saying, I know I'm not going to find the bow here, which is fine. And if he does find the bow here, he knows Bombos was his ticket in.
Yeah, it's a case where you're in the area, might as well check.
Really hints. Really. We're now, what, 4 or 5 of hints literally immediately after we've checked that location.
Yeah, this seems to be a really weird seed, basically telling you after you've already found the item for what the hint is, for what the item is.
Very nice bomb placement. Master Sword in this room is not always easy, but that was a well-placed bomb there by DT.
Yeah, I guess it makes a bit of sense to come into Ice Palace again while you're here, and with the 3 hints, it's not a bad location to be in. That makes it a bit more profitable.
The Turtle Rock Big Key is held by someone friendly. Thanks, Seed. You're awesome.
We're going to have to ask the runners about what they thought about all those hints.
I can kind of picture, like I can hear DT's voice in my head going, yeah, well, that was, it was something.
I wonder if they're just laughing at it at this point. After the first couple, they're like, okay, yeah, thanks, game. And then at this point, with it just keep happening, they're probably just laughing at it.
I don't know if you can do anything else other than laugh at it at this point. So Vivi also checking this particular spot, is getting ready to do this check. And I mean, he's really not all that far behind DT, given his issues that he's had earlier.
He hasn't lost a lot of time. The seed has been pretty linear. So it doesn't look like there's been much in Ice Palace. There's half magic, so that's not terrible. I mean, not really great, but I wonder, so where's the progression at this point? Is it the 3 locations in East Dark Death Mountain, or do we think it's up in Maya area?
Well, I mean, we have 3 checks that we can make in East Dark Death Mountain, but you have, 3 checks that you can make in the Meyer area by itself. Plus, you have a 66% chance of being able to at least open Meyer. There's the Ice Rod in Ice Palace, because of course it is. I would, in terms of pure density, I might go to the Meyer area at this point in time over East Death Mountain. In part because think back to that hint that we have that the hookshot is hammerlocked. Neither of those places are hammerlocked locations, but you're hoping that you get something from maybe Misery Mire that will lead you to a hammerlock location, like the small key to Swamp Palace. Just so you can save a trip up Death Mountain and save some sort of time.
Oh, and Malchus in chat is raising a good point, saying Skullwood's green pendant locked, Fire Rodwood's bow locked in pod, therefore green pendant is equal to bow. I'm not sure if that is, if the logic for hints goes that deep, but I guess we'll find.
It's possible. Misery Mire is the green pendant. Now we're still a long ways from being able to do that. We don't have a cane yet, so missing some logic there. And I think we still need. Oh, I guess we have keys. So
yeah, we have a couple keys. Again, I'm not 100% sure logic-wise whether how many keys are out in the open, but with the Canis Maria, they could eventually do it. It looks like it might have been the small key for Skullwoods was green pendant locked and not just the big key.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that.
I mean, it was a good theory. And there's another pendant in Ice Palace, so one step closer to finding out what the last pendant was to see what how to get the sword upgrade on the pedestal.
Hey, and if you get that 3rd pendant early enough, I will absolutely spend the minute and a half it takes to get there, because that tempered sword saves that much time. Well, except Vivi just got a tempered sword in Dark Palace. Did Vivi steal it?
He has to have stolen a key because he has no keys for Desert Palace.
That's risky. Wow. So yeah, you can go into the other part of the dungeon, get a key, and then come back and steal it. But man, that is super risky, because if you don't find that small key, it could lock you out of the dungeon. And oh my, hi DT. What did you just play?
The welcome mat for Mire with Quake, so he can go into Misery Mire. He can clear it.
So, okay, I'll explain key stealing again. So in the, you know how Desert Palace is split into two parts. So you have the front half of the dungeon, then the back half. There is a key in that back half of the dungeon which you can get to, which instead of using on the intended door, you can take back to the front half and use on the eastern side of Desert Palace, which unlocks 2 treasure chests. That is what Vivi did. Now, the issue is, logically, we don't know where that Desert Palace key is. There's only one Desert Palace key out there. So he stole a key intended for a different door from the back half and brought it to the front part. If, for whatever reason, there is something on the boss that is logically required to get the small key in Desert Palace, he has effectively locked himself out of being able to complete the seed.
He can't lock himself off that boss because he would have needed the big key and small keys to get over there. There should be nothing locking him
except the key that he stole.
No, but he'll find the small key somewhere else.
Unless there's something on the boss that is logically required to access the small key.
No, it can't, because the logic would require you to have the small key to even get back there. The logic requires you to have all the keys and I believe the compass and map for the logic to be within, for the dungeon to be within logic. So if you don't have the small key, you can't defeat the boss. Him stealing the key is just basically getting those 2 chests a little bit earlier. He's still going to have to find the other keys to get back there and defeat the dungeon.
Okay. So okay. For some odd reason, I thought it didn't take that into account. Like, you could theoretically lock yourself out of the dungeon.
No, my understanding of the key sanity is you need every single item of that dungeon to complete the dungeon. Map, compass, everything. They don't care about the map and compass, so they don't worry about it. But that would also include the key, so it's not going to lock the small key behind the boss in any way.
Okay. The more you know. I have learned something today.
Yep. See, continuing with those hints. And a nice mill upgrade, although DT, I think, has enough hearts at this point that he's not really gonna... It's not a big deal for him for that extra health armor.
Yeah, we've kind of recovered from our early heart situation where we were, half an hour in with only 3 hearts still. And the most important item in the entire game, right there, bug net.
I mean, if they want to have fun with it, they can use it to defeat Ganon and pretend it's swordless.
Does that work? I didn't think that worked.
Sorry, Aga 2, I meant.
Aga 2, okay. Then yes, I mean, that would be fun. That might be a good gentleman's agreement to have at some point. Look, you have to go get the bug net to kill Aga. Vivi trying to get cute there with a bomb jump, with a wall bonk over the snake, and it knocked him into a fire.
So Vivi is just basically retracing DT's steps, although he'll be able to clear these rooms a bit faster with the Tempered Sword, so that's a bit of a plus. So with the cane, I wonder if that's going to make East Dark Death Mountain a bit more in DT's mindset, that he can now check the 3 chests and also see what's in the beginning of Turtle Rock.
All right, so DT on his way back here. You know, it's funny. The very first item that DT got were the silver arrows, and yet we still don't have the bow. That's a bit of a tease, I would think.
It's anecdotal, but I seem to remember this happens often. You find the silvers early, the bow takes a long time to find. You find the bow early, the silvers take a long time to find. The game's just not nice enough to give you both relatively early.
No, it's not. DT gonna take a red potion for safety's sake. Master Sword is not necessarily easy to do, but he does it. So there is our green pendant. That is that okay? That's 2 pendants.
Yep, we're not 100% sure right now what the third one is. But whether DT actually pulls the pedestal or not, I guess would depend on if he does Desert Palace first, he's not going to go for the Butter Sword.
No.
But if he doesn't do Desert Palace first, that makes it's not a terrible time sink to go up to the pedestal to get a guaranteed sword.
So from that hint for the hook shot, I keep on coming back to that, but we've effectively narrowed down that it's either on Helmasaur or in Swamp Palace, haven't we? So what?
Yes. Full disclosure, the fact that we had the technical issue at the start and they re-rolled the seed. The seed rolled as a defeat Ganon, not all dungeons. They're doing all dungeons just to make sure, which means the logic I don't think accounts for that. So it could the hookshot could be in Ganon's tower if Swamp Palace is the last pedestal pendant. Otherwise, yes, it would be Swamp Palace or Helmasaur.
Details.
It helps for the logic. I mean, we're saying it's all dungeons because they're going to complete all dungeons, but it does affect. Oh, Fellion's saying the logic doesn't care about all dungeons.
Yeah, it's interesting with this particular fall tournament. You know, there are so many. I'm not going to call them wacky modes per se, but modes that maybe a lot of us in the community haven't played frequently. All dungeons, Key Sanity. We have some retro modes thrown in there. Inverted mode is kind of some new hotness that's up. I think a lot of us are learning kind of some niche logic for a lot of these on the fly. So experts in chat are absolutely welcome. And if we get anything wrong, please feel free to correct us in any capacity.
Okay, so that's still confirming though what I said, that hookshot, if Swamp Palace is a pendant, could be in Ganon's tower, but we don't know 100% sure until we know what Swamp Palace is. So Swamp Palace still could have Hookshot, Ganon's Tower, or Helmasaur.
Green text. That means it's not even worth reading. I didn't even get to see it.
But this seems like a good play with the keys that DT has and the checks he can do in here. It's a good few chests. See what he can.
Yeah, it's interesting to note that the treasure chest over here on the right side of Turtle Rock, again, still not in logic because of that fire rod being in a bow-locked portion. So we know we're not going to find the bow here, but it'll be interesting to see what he finds in these two locations at very least.
Well, the bow not in these two chests, but the bow could still be up in Turtle Rock, just in a later location.
Yep, absolutely.
Vivi got the sword by stealing the key in Desert Palace. The sword was on the right side, locked behind the small key.
Yeah, and in those 20 minutes, all you missed was like a 20-minute discussion of whether or not that's bad or good. I guess that was just it. 20 minutes of that.
So what do you think DT's going to find in Turtle Rock?
You know, I don't know. Bow would be nice.
The thing is, Bow only locks 2 more items, I believe. Helmasaur and Armos Knights. So while progression could be on those, that's not a lot of locations. I'm hoping to see Swamp Small Key and then dip into Swamp.
That could be interesting. Other things that could, I mean, Desert Palace Big Key would be nice as well.
I mean, again, with that discussion, that Big Key will only allow DT to clear the boss. It doesn't put the dungeon completely in logic. So I don't think anything big is going to be in that location.
Oh my god. That is so cute.
Yeah, when I first saw that bunny sprite, I had to agree with DT when he said that was the best bunny sprite.
Yeah, all but 2 chests are considered hammerlocked in Swamp Palace, yes. And we've already gotten one of them. We know one of them's a heart piece, or a heart container. Chat pointing out, yeah, this seed has been pretty linear. Key Sanity, you know, in my experience in the tournament that we had last year, Key Sanity really, more times than not, because there's so much more that you have to do in so many different locations, you get 1 or 2 things. Big Key to Desert Palace. And yeah, it can end in some linear seeds. But to me, it ends more linear, and this might just be confirmation bias from the seeds I've. And the small key to Swamp Palace.
There we go.
Oh, we were both right. Okay, we'll go with that.
That's kind of what I wanted to see. That unlocks a lot of locations to check.
And the small key to Desert Palace.
So now he can complete Desert Palace, get his Tempered Sword, which means he's likely not going to go and get the Pedestal Sword. And I completely missed it. Vivi set up the spooky action clip.
Yeah, he did. I was going to say, I just saw that. That was super nice.
With that tempered sword, though, that's going to make Vitreous a lot easier.
Absolutely. Easier, but if I'm honest, I think DT might have had an even faster kill, at least the first part of the phase. Second part of the phase, it will be no contest, but that first part of the phase, I think DT with his spin strats was actually a little bit faster.
And nothing else of note in Turtle Rock, so it looks like it was coming up here to grab the Desert Palace keys as well as the Swamp Palace key, and then go find something else.
And note where he put his portal to get back in. He's fully intending on getting back there, which is why he's using this entrance instead of the other way through the Dark World. He intends to not go back into the Dark World. He's going through this desert area because to him, he has a lot of treasures that he can open in here.
Yeah, but if he doesn't find a Turtle Rock small key, eventually he'll have to abandon that portal. I think he's hoping in these 4 locations he's going to find a small key to be able to go back there a little bit quicker.
Oh, being corrected, you can't go to the Dark World, you just can't mirror. You can't create another portal, which is true.
Unfortunately, I believe we know, unless it's on Lenmo here, he's not going to find a Turtle Rock small key.
It's interesting. He's skipping the left side entirely. He does not, or at least he's going to the boss first.
It's not a bad play. I mean, when he defeats the boss, he's going to be warped back to the entrance, and then he can just run in and do the right side afterwards.
Vivi doing some of this dark overworld cleanup now that he has the Titan's Mitts. Talking to Jeremiah. Did he get the hint that said the purple chest was no go?
I believe he did see that hint. So he's probably not going to get the purple chest at this point.
All right, so DT out of magic is going to be doing Master Sword spins and slashes from here on out. Vivi looks like he's on his way up to Dark Death Mountain as well. Will be, again, a very linear seed up to this point. Only one place to go each time. On his way up to Turtle Rock, DT awarded with the most money I've ever seen. I'm kidding, it was a single ruby.
So now he should be going to the right side, getting his tempered sword. But then where does he go from here? I would think he's going to abandon his portal and do Swamp Palace. I don't think there's anywhere else he can go.
I tend to think that you're right. Swamp Palace is, again, we're back to the linearity of it all. There's only one place for him to go. Malachris asked, which chest had the swamp small? It's the Turtle Rock big chest. So Vivi is going to be able to get it in here direct.
Yeah, so stealing the key just saved him a little bit for that tempered sword. He would have gotten it eventually.
Yeah, and nothing being back on the laser bridge was really ends up being kind of beneficial. because that's one more key that we can save or spend elsewhere. And
So
DT is. I'm sorry. Go
based
ahead.
based on that map check, though, it looks like Eastern Palace was the last pendant. So we know then Hookshot can't be in Ganon's Tower. So it's either on Helmasaur or in Swamp Palace at this point.
Yeah, feels like it's going to be here in Swamp. Absolutely. I mean, percentage-wise, you'd think.
Percentage-wise, yes, but with the way this seed has been going,
I mean, I think we are only DT. I think is pretty clearly in the lead in terms of the linearity of the seed, and he's got 6 dungeons down. We still got 1, 2, 3, 4. We still have 5 dungeons to go. I guess he has 7 dungeons down with Aga, so we still have 5 to go.
he's only 1 dungeon up on Vivi, so it's not a huge lead. I mean, based on the execution, it doesn't look like DT is going to give up the lead, but you never know. It's random. It's rando. Anything can happen.
Well, there's a fetch quest for us. Magic powder. And you're right, anything can happen, but linear seeds like this one benefit the player with the superior execution because you can't make a low percent play. You're kind of forced into putting one foot in front of the other and keeping on going.
Yeah, this is true. And at this point, DT has more health, so the likelihood of something catastrophic going wrong is pretty low, but it all depends on where the items are.
Vivi also forgot, oh yeah, I don't have the hook shot, so went the short way thinking he could sneak it through. Now had to regret, and that's very vanilla tasting right there.
Yeah, the muscle memory for that area in Turtle Rock is very high. But yeah, hook shot was there, so I believe all we have left for go mode is the bow.
Are we? Well, we have all of our big keys, don't we?
Yeah, sorry, I meant in terms of items. They still need a small key for Turtle Rock for the boss. They still need. Oh no, that's actually it. And then maybe some Ganon Tower keys if they have to really. No, they have the big key. I believe they have 2 small keys. So no, they're good for Ganon's Tower. So they just need a Turtle Rock small key and a bow.
Yep, and that'll do it. Go mode kind of snuck up on us on this one, didn't it? I mean, we were so preoccupied with bow and hookshot, and in Key Sanity, you can be looking for a ton of keys, but we've just kind of been slowly chipping away at everything.
Yeah, so DT should hit go mode relatively soon. There's not many more locations that the bow could be, so it should be pretty quick. At this point, I'm guessing it might be left side swamp, just to give them one last fun location to check.
I would laugh. Of course, DT also picks up the superior cane, the cane of Burna.
You know, I didn't realize they still haven't found a shield yet, which is very odd.
Yeah, I mean, odd, but yeah.
I can understand seeing a shield and just not picking it up. They haven't even seen a shield out in the open. There's been no shields. I don't think I've seen a seed go this long without seeing at least one shield somewhere.
All right, here is another dungeon down for DT. Still no shields. Vivi slowly making his way. He found the big key to Desert Palace, is going to find his progression here directly in that small key.
And it looks like DT realizes has to go back for those 2 chests because, like I said, I don't think there's any other locations it can be at this point. It's either a small key for Turtle Rock to get the bow on Trinex, or it's left side swamp.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of any. I mean, Bat Cave, because we got the powder.
Oh yeah, Batcave could. And they haven't found the mushroom. If that's hidden somewhere, but there's not many. Obviously, there's not many locations left to check. So if the seed is nice, it'll put it in left side swamp while DT's already here. If it's not nice, it'll give him another item for him to go on another quest somewhere else.
Not many more places to check, though, I would say.
For the bow, no. I believe, like I said, left side swamp. You had mentioned the Bat Cave, and then if they find a Turtle Rock small key, Trinex or somewhere else in Turtle Rock. But other than that, I believe between the 2 runners, they've checked everywhere else.
Yeah, I think you're right as well. So DT is about to show us at least left side swamp. So everyone hold on to your butts. We're going to see what we have here. That is the opposite of what we wanted.
I mean, you use it in the bow.
Oh, man, nothing. Oh, man.
Some magic bat, I believe.
Yeah, magic bat. Sure, why not? Incoherent in chat says that was an impressively bad left side swamp. Yeah.
I forgot they have the hookshot, so hookshot cave. 3 items there. Because hookshot was so late in the season.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Vivi also coming back to Desert Palace to start with, and we have a small key to Turtle Rock.
I mean, they needed one of those anyway, so that makes it more worthwhile to go up there, check Hookshot Cave, and then just complete Turtle Rock.
So here's the thing. There are 2 doors in Turtle Rock that are open. One leads to Trinex, one leads to the Vanilla Big Key location. Do you do Trinex?
I mean, I would probably do Trinex, get that out of the way, and then if it's not that, you're hunting for another key regardless. So it's not a huge deal. I mean, then again, if it's not there, you're going to find the key soon anyways because they're running out of locations to check. So
I think either way, you're right. We do check Hookshot Cave first before you even dip down into it, and yeah, hope.
Yeah, so I think there's only one of 2 scenarios: either a small key in Hookshot Cave, and then the bow is in Turtle Rock, or bow is in Hookshot Cave, and you're basically in go mode. But DT's going right in. I wonder if he's going to check that first chest in the lava room.
Did he save and quit? Because what I've seen some runners do is have a save and quit, so they have a save file, and if it's nothing, they can then hard reset to save that key and then go back into Trinex.
That's possible. I think he saved and quit up to the mountain to the old man. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what he did. So he might actually do that reset if it's not anything worthwhile to save that key.
Yeah, and that's one of those heads-up plays that you'll see from veteran runners like DT, knowing the points where you save and quit, before turning in the mushroom, especially in key sanity when you have these sorts of choices like which door do I choose to open. Yeah, and he's going right to this door that we were talking about here.
Yeah, so if it's nothing, it's an easy reset back to his save point. If it is something, he knows he has to then find the last key to defeat Trinex. Or he's doing Trinex first.
Okay, so ignore everything that I just said in the past 30 seconds.
I mean, it was an idea. It makes sense to, if you want to save your key, to do that. It's just not what he's doing.
That's one of those instances where I think I thought I was smarter than I actually was. So, my fault, guys.
Yeah, the bow can't be in Ganon's Tower because Palace of Darkness is a crystal. So we know it's either on Trinex, in the lava room, or in Hookshot Cave. We'll find out shortly if it was on Trinex.
All right. Either way, we're going to see Trinex here, and DT is equipped reasonably well for this Trinex fight. It should be relatively quick.
Yeah, not even letting the ice head make a mess on the floor.
All right, and it's just a map from Trinex. Map to Swamp Palace. Thanks. Appreciate ya.
So at this point, he's for sure going to do Hookshot Cave. I don't believe he has anything else left to check.
Yeah, and if it's not there, then you'd got to think that last Turtle Rock small key is there.
And there it is.
Yep. Okay. So the only thing then we are missing, or that's I mean, technically there's still a Turtle Rock small key out there because of where the bow is. It could very well be on Helmasaur or something like that. But we're done. We have Eastern Palace, Palace of Darkness, and then Ganon's Tower. But we have everything we need. We're in go mode.
Yeah, and these should be pretty quick because they've already cleared out everything in both these dungeons. It's just a rush to the boss, kill the boss, and then go to the next one. And because they're both right here, it's just a quick mirror to the next one.
Absolutely. This is going to be relatively quick. We are at about an hour 49 for these runners. We're going to be done probably maybe in the next 10 minutes because we don't even really have to go through Ganon's Tower. It's just walk in the front door, start the gauntlet.
Yeah, that's the one advantage with Key Sanity. You can ignore all of Ganon's Tower basement if you have the big key already, which they do. They have the two small keys, so let's just go right on up.
Oh, Vivi showing off, at least in the first part. Yeah, he's doing poke strats on Argus here. That's very impressive. Poke strats are super, super fun to do when you can pull them.
And DT can finally use some of those silver arrows that he has.
Yeah, and as chat is pointing out, a lot of it comes down, DT has slightly superior execution. That's not to say Vivi has poor execution. DT is just very, very good at this game. But I think the differentiating factors really are those two deaths early that Vivi ended up taking. One of them was on his way through Eastern Palace super early, and he died prior to getting the flute, which he had to run back to get that because that was progression. And then he died on his way over to the Ice Rod Cave, which had the boots, and he avoided both of those areas for quite a while after. And DT did not die and was able to do all those in one go. And really, if you think about it, that's kind of the difference between these two right now, is a deaths in those two locations and having to go back to them.
Yeah, for sure. Without those, it would have been a lot closer than it looks. That's not to say Vivi has had a bad race. Like, two mistakes, those could happen to anyone. I don't fault him for basically leaving after the deaths. You don't really want to go through the dungeon anyways. You can better use your time. It just had two key items that just really vaulted DT up.
Absolutely. DT now finished off Helmasaur on his way back to what will be the easiest boss fight in the entire game, in the Armos Knights with silver arrows.
Using the cannon Brian to just go through those silver balls a little bit faster.
See, best Kane. It's a true story.
And Vivi finding out the single arrow and the other left side's chest not worthwhile. Hopefully he decides to go up to Death Mountain now. Hopefully, again, Hookshot Cave first, so he knows that the bow's there.
Yeah, that would absolutely be nice at this point in time. And then he'll still open everything, I think. No, he's going to do Magic Bat first, of course.
Again, it's not a terrible play, but we just know it's not a good time investment. Oh, right. No, Turtle Rock Small Key was here, so he has to get this.
Oh, right.
So this was actually good time investment. Get this now.
And just some bombs in the Armos Knights. So that is our almost final dungeon. We do have Ganon's Tower for this all dungeons run, but after Ganon's Tower, we defeat Aga 2. Our runners will be able to go ahead and defeat Mr. Blue Bacon himself. Again, they agreed on an all dungeons run, although for whatever reason the seed roll isn't an all dungeons seed, but they just gentlemen's agreed it. And because Aga 1 was required, that wasn't even like an issue at any point.
No, it was just Eastern Palace, Misery Mire, and Ice Palace boss kills, which weren't terribly long anyway, so it's not like it would have saved them a huge amount of time if they had just ignored them. Hookshot was in Swamp Palace Big Chest, and then the bow was in Hookshot Cave.
Yes, they do technically have to kill Ganon. It is not just complete all dungeons and GG win. It is Ganon is locked. If for whatever reason, for example, you don't complete Aghanim 1, even after defeating Aghanim 2, Ganon will not be.
And with that bow, Vivi is now in go mode. So all he has to do is just go defeat Trinex and then go finish off Pod in Eastern Palace.
Oh, and he's fluting away. Well, since he has to climb Death Mountain again, I suppose it's not a huge time loss. He's just preferring to knock these two out first.
Yeah, it's probably equal time regardless. Like you said, he'll have to climb it anyways.
All right, so DT does enter Ganon's tower, and as we said, just immediately up to the gauntlet. Silver arrows, red mail, tempered sword. We know where the final sword is. It's on the pedestal, which Butter, you're not going to waste too much time in getting.
Yeah, with DT's execution, he should make quick work of this gauntlet as well.
Absolutely. Vivi, meanwhile, working his way through here, Palace of Darkness. Again, 15 hearts now. DT has 16. That early game, how do you think part of it, Vivi's deaths, was the contributing factor in terms of how low of health he had? We were talking, both of our runners were sitting at only 3 hearts, like half an hour to 40 minutes into this.
That's part of it. I think a bigger factor, at least for the early deaths, was the fact that he didn't have any weapons in Eastern Palace, so he had to rely on alternate methods to unlock the chest for the flute. For the death before the boots, he didn't have the mail upgrade that was in Kakariko, which would have helped a little bit, but beyond that, I don't think the low health was too bad. I think it was just those 2 incidents just really cemented it.
All right, so DT continues to climb. This is kind of an interesting room because you have to almost stutter step your way through. You don't want to be climbing steps when doors are closing. You don't want to accidentally despawn the entire rest of the dungeon. And yeah, for those of you guys tuning in to get ready for another race, I do believe, and I am going to double check, the 9:30 Eastern race between Zelgadizen and Cadenza. The All Dungeons Open Randomized Key Sanity Hard mode is over on ALTTP Randomizer 3 now because this one has been taking so long. So if you're here for that one, go over there. But hang out with us first because we're cool. We're part of the cool kids group.
Yeah, Signal has the math correct. There is 720 games in the group stage between all the different groups. So that's a lot of matches within about 6 weeks. It averages to, if you want to look at it per racer, it averages to about 2.5 races per week per racer.
That's a lot of races to run. We're going to be busy bees. DT with the triple there. Wow.
Yeah, so a 3 cycle, 2, 1, 3. That's actually pretty good.
All right, DT kills Aghanim and is off to Mr. Blue Bacon. Vivi is finishing off. He's already done Helmasaur. We'll have Armos Knights here shortly. Does have to still go defeat Trinex, but that should be relatively short. No other chests to pick up there.
Yeah, it's just the walk through the dungeon, but that shouldn't be too much of a problem.
Still getting those spins in on Ganon when you can, just making real efficient work at this point in time.
And that's a nice location for the spins.
Absolutely. All right, Vivi is done with Armos, and we are on to phase 3 for DT. Did you find the arrows in Hyrule Castle? Oh! Okay, for you Vivi fans, that's step 1. We might need a couple more falls, but 1 fall on Ganon for In the Name of DT.
Yeah, it happens to the best of the runners too. It's just an unfortunate thing. Now he'll have a different pattern. I believe the pattern's only guaranteed for the first one until I think a Fall or Death. Which could be a benefit if the pattern has less teleports.
Oh, he's getting bodied by these fire bats too. DT, gotta be careful here, don't?
I don't think he has any health potions. I don't know if he still has his fairy or if he used that. Down to 2. No.
Oh!
I was going to say down to 2 hearts, but that flame.
And here's where it is super easy, I think, as a racer. You get into these modes where you make a couple of very quick mistakes, especially in Ganon, and you start like hyping yourself up. You start worrying that there's going to be a dot done coming any second now, and you're super worried about where your opponent is, and you start making more mistakes. In sports, we try to tell people to have a short-term memory. Like, you just got to forget the mistakes that you just made, go out there and play your game, and just get it done as best as you can.
Yeah, and DT had a much better phase 1 and 2 for that one.
Still has 6 hearts. Want to avoid any more issues there. I don't know if he's going to have set up. Yeah, he does not quite have the torch glitch, but he does get this other, not quite a triple.
I think when you have the loadout that they have, that's the better setup. Not to get the torch glitch, but to set up for a potential 3-hit. And it works out as long as DT can walk over that gap. DT is the winner of this race.
Absolutely. GG. In the name of DT, first place with a time of 2:04:42. GG. Let's see if we can grab him to chat with us a little bit about this linear seed. Oh, hi, DT. How are you doing today, sir?
I mean, if you want the honest truth, not great. That seed was just not ideal. There were a lot of little things that went wrong, and it just kind of added up. And I think honestly, most of that seed was played on at least a semi-tilt. Since you asked, I figured I'd give an honest answer. How are you, Vatasia?
You know, I'm doing amazing, knowing that I got to see you play that seed and not me.
Aha, that sounds like a typical answer.
Yeah, no, I mean that you know, yeah, that was, you know, it ended up being a pretty linear seed. All things said, you had to kind of go from one place to the next, and you just always found just one key to unlock it. Do you find key sanity ends up being more like that for you, or is that just me and my confirmation bias?
I think that this seed was like an extreme example of that. I've had plenty of key sanity seeds that are a lot more open and friendly than this. Yeah, it was literally just like finding one thing at a time, just literal breadcrumb after breadcrumb. And I mean, I guess I'm glad that most key sanity seeds, at least in my experience, aren't quite like this. But yeah, this one definitely led us in that path.
So you said you felt, you know, like you were on tilt the entire time. Did you feel you were behind, or did you, or what was your feeling as you kept on going through this?
Honestly, I couldn't tell. Not with this one. I figured that sequence breaking the fire rod might have wound up being huge until I found out that Vivi actually did the same thing. So that put us on a level playing field in that regard. I don't know. I couldn't really tell. I knew, especially as I was having my Ganon mishaps, that it's got to be getting close. It's going to be my own fault if I lose it and whatnot. But I guess fortunately that wasn't the case.
Yeah, as you read in the SRL chat, it was, I think, those two deaths that that Vivi had earlier before getting the flute and boots that really sunk the race for.
Yeah, that was really unfortunate to hear about. I mean, things can happen. Deaths can happen. And from what I recall, especially the flute location, we didn't have a lot of health. I might have had 4 hearts at that point. I can only imagine Vivi was somewhere in the ballpark of that as well. Things can happen. It's just unfortunate that that's a really, really rough spot for it.
Yeah, you had 4 because you had gone to Desert Palace to get the heart container off the cliff. Vivi had gone to Eastern Palace earlier, so he was still on 3 hearts. I think the bigger factor, though, was not just the hearts, but he didn't have the sword, so he had to rely on that room with the pots and bombs. So that just made it a little bit more difficult. And then rightly after he died, he figured, okay, I'm not gonna continue with this. I'll go check somewhere else. It just happened to be a major item was in that location.
Yeah, that's always the difficult part. Do you decide to go back for it knowing that it's a time commitment, or do you just press on elsewhere?
Yeah, and for those 2 specific locations, it was just a rough go of it. You know, we also joke that Vivi died right before. Oh, he mirrored out. He went down to do the escape sequence and mirrored out before he got Zelda's chest, so he had to go back all the way down for that. That ended up just being 10, but he did end up committing and going back down for that one.
So one question I had, and I just wanted to, what was your opinion on the hints of this seed? The fact that every single time you looked, it was telling you for an item you already found.
Yeah, it mostly did play out that way. Aside from the hookshot being the big one, saying that it was somewhere Hammerlock. And then I just spent, I don't know how long, just searching for the hookshot. I might have read a little bit too far into that. I should have just gone about my business elsewhere, but I guess I was a little bit unclear on what the hints actually meant. Like, to say that it's locked behind the hammer, I assumed that it would have been, like, directly behind it, like hammer pegs or spike cave or something like that. But no, I guess anywhere behind it and anywhere in swamp is technically behind hammer. So I guess that's what that meant. And so I learned something today.
Yeah, I've sort of been looking at the code behind the scenes to see what locations each of them are, and from what I hear as well, it's not hits for a specific mode. It has to be applicable to all modes. So
Oh, that's right.
based on that, we knew hammer was not locking anything in Turtle Rock, and bow, if you ever find that hint, is not locking anything in Eastern Palace because Randomizer for that one. So as you were going through, we were starting to narrow down the locations, and by the time you found it, it was either swamp or it was on Helmasaur. Luckily, you found it in swamp.
I guess that's a good way to deduce things. That's not one of my strong points with this game, so good for you for figuring that out. I figured it out once I got the hook shot.
Well, I wouldn't have been able to figure it out if I were to be running. Like I wouldn't be able to process it as I was going through. I like looking at code, so
sure.
I would find it interesting to go through. It might be something you go through and find and just sort of read and just see what locations are locked according to the code in the back end, so that maybe next time you sort of have an idea of what locations are what based on the hints.
You know what? It probably is a good idea. Not even going to try to dispute that. It's a solid plan.
Well, we have Vivi about to enter Ganon's fight, so GG, DT, on your win. Do you have any other final thoughts as we're wrapping up this?
Ganon's a jerk. That's all.
He is. I'll give you that. All right. Thank you so much. In the name of DT, coming away with a win in this first matchup. GG to him. If you like what you saw, go ahead and give him a follow here on Twitch. Thank you so much again.
My pleasure. Thanks for commentating. Looking forward to watching it back.
And Vivi is on his Ganon fight. We get to see kind of this nice Ganon corner setup. Get some spins here. Get safely into phase 3.
Let's see if Ganon's as big of a jerk to Vivi as he was to DT.
I mean, I didn't want to rub salt in that wound, but I kind of want to know. Did you find the silvers in Hyrule Castle? Yes, we did.
Missed the torch glitch, but got at least a good couple hits in there.
All right, and there's the explosion. GG to Vivi. We'll see if he can cross this bridge. It's the most difficult part of the whole game.
And he makes it.
Whew, man, I was worried. GG to Vivi. Getting it done in 2 hours, 13 minutes, 43 seconds. GG to Vivi. We'll see if we can get him in here for a quickie.
And we're joined by Vivi. GG on the race.
GG.
So I mean, I think you know, because you and DT talked a little bit after the race. Those early deaths with those low health, I mean, that really kind of put you up behind the 8 ball from the get go. And more than that, there was no way to make any gambles because it was such a linear seed. You couldn't risk anything to get ahead because there was only one place to go all the time.
Yeah, it was pretty linear. last location, like lots of stuff, the mitts, the flute, what else? The hook shot, the bow, pretty much. They were all last location things. So yeah, that was hard. Yeah, it all started with these 3 early, really painful deaths. One just in front of the flute, the other just in front of the boots, the third one just in front of Paradox Cave, and the mirror in the escape. Like 4 really dumb mistakes, but after that, I'm pretty happy with the rest of my game. But these 4 mistakes alone cost me like upward of 10 minutes probably, but everything else I'm pretty fine with.
Yeah, it seemed like a good race except for that. I think I agree with the decisions though that once you had died, move on to something else. Don't keep trying the locations. Just unfortunate that they had the items that they had.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I went to Eastern first thing. That's what I often do in Key Sanity. I go to Eastern because most of the time you don't get the Eastern big key early, or the bow, or both of them, because you need both of them to get more chests. So it's 4 easy chests early. I almost never died there, except like my last 2 runs, I died there both times for some reasons. But yeah, this most of the time, like I say, 1 chest. What's the worst that can happen? It's probably nothing, but in this time it was something, and same thing from the Ice Rod Cave. It had a major item, so it kind of wrecked me a little bit. It caused other problems later on too, because I went to desert without the boots, which I would have had if I gotten them, and I missed a dark pod big key, pod small key on the torch there. That would have allowed me to get my mitts in my first time through pod, which I didn't get. So I went in pod, got lots of stuff, left, did so much stuff, and then had to come back to pod because mitts were the last thing I could get there, the last location. So it caused problems when it happened, but it kept causing other problems further in.
Yeah, that's just the unfortunate thing with Randomizer sometimes is you have those locations that either you miss an item or don't want to go back for the one item because of a death, and it just holds a key item that just locks you out for the majority of the race.
Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate. It could have been like a 20 rupee. I'd been happy with that, but nope.
Yeah, I think the slight advantage that DT had on that is he went to Kakariko, which had a sword, had the big key for Eastern, had the lamp, so that just made his check there a little bit easier. Had the mail upgrade, so he was less at risk of dying to Ice Rod Cave area. So I think that just helped him out that little bit to get those 2 items.
Yeah, it sure would have helped me too with the lamp. What happened for some reason? I usually go after the dark rooms. I'm usually at 2 hearts, but for some reason I got it by the anti-fairy an extra time, so I was 1 heart when I got into the Vanilla Big Key chest room, and with 1 heart I cannot just do the damage boost. So I tried to get some health, but couldn't get enough. I kept getting it by other stuff, so that's spiraled onward pretty fast.
So I meant to ask DT this, about this particular rule set with all dungeons and randomized swords and key sanity. Did he pick this on purpose knowing that you were uncomfortable with it, or what were your feelings on that? And do you have like something evil in mind for the next rule set?
Well, no, I'm very comfortable with Whole Dungeon Key Sanity. I have that's probably what I run the most. My favorite thing. I think the reasoning behind it, I'm not sure. I'm just gonna make my own guess here, but it favors, like, since you have to do so much stuff, it favors the player with the better execution, and he probably thinks, and he's probably right, that he has a slightly better execution than me. So on most of the time, it's gonna favor him, because there's no gamble to be made, or very little gamble to be made in a all dungeon key sanity, because everyone's gonna go through everything, every seed. So I think it favors the slightly better execution player, which he is, and he's seeded a bit higher than me. So
if I could interject real quick too, actually, just in our group channel on the Discord, when I had posted that these were what the settings were going to be for this race. Yeah, Vivi was excited about that, and it's like, oh well, I was kind of hoping to pick something that that's how you meta this, I guess. I was kind of hoping to pick something that maybe you wouldn't have been so inclined to play, but in the end, it turned into being a pretty good race, and you know what? I'm really happy with that.
Hey, anytime you want to jump in, DT, I'm fine with that. I honestly meant to ask you that before, and then I blanked. And thank you for jumping in.
That's fine. And one oddity that I actually thought of a few minutes ago that I wanted to share about this this seed. I don't think I've ever seen a Key Sanity seed that requires Aghanim for Dark World access. That might have been a first for me.
Yeah, that was interesting and a fun little twist.
The side-by-side castle tower keys up on the east side of Death Mountain. I mean, I wondered what was going on there myself. I'm like, what? But you know, we're going to try to wrap things up here. Vivi, do you have any final closing thoughts on this seed or what's going on?
No, not really. Just want to say GG to DT. Congrats on the win. I'll get you in the next one. And thanks for the crew, the commentators, trackers, the restreamer, everyone for their amazing job.
All right, and thank you both in the name of DT and Vivi. Again, if you liked what you saw from these guys, go ahead, give them a follow here on Twitch. I do want to also give a shout out to Dimensive, who was our tracker for the evening. Big shout out to him, doing all the work. Key Sanity tracking is not easy, so a big shout out to them for helping us out. Hanson for doing our restream as well. Please stay tuned. There's other randomizer action going on over on Speed Gaming 5 that just started about 10 minutes ago. Big Dunka versus Kern. About to start here directly in less than a minute on ALTTPR 3. Again, Zelgadison versus Cadenza. And in a minute here over on Speed Gaming 2, Aaron Dobby versus Burn the Witch, which is in the same group as these guys, I believe. So some good competition to go check out over there if you want to see what's going on there. And my wonderful co-commentator, Iceman F1, thank you so much for working with me. It's always a pleasure, man.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Really fun seed to watch. Good, great runners. It was a fun time.
And that's going to do it for all of us here at A Link to the Past Randomizer. Go ahead and check out those other racers, and we'll see you guys at the next match. Thank you so much.